Welcome to Legacy Battle. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification button. We're available on everywhere you can find podcasts. Joining me tonight from the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, the Director of Operations, Scott Crawford, Steelers Nation South, Rollo Coughlin will be around. From the Gridiron Battle Zone, Brian King, I'm Michael Adams. Tonight's debate is the top five Blue Jays offensive players of all time. We are joined by a former MLB outfielder, spent 10 seasons with the Blue Jays, also played with the Twins and the soon-to-be Las Vegas Athletics. 6 seasons, he hit over 300. Also, he had some speed, 51 stolen bases in 1998. 2003, he finished fourth in MVP voting. He's great left fielder as well, 45th all-time in putouts and 50th all-time in fielding percentage. So welcome, Shannon Stewart. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate this.
Excellent. We're going to have a Q&A after for him about his career. Our honorable mentions tonight, Robbie Alomar, Joe Carter, Fred McGriff, Josh Donaldson. We're going to start with Scott's first player.
Yeah, well, let's jump right into it with arguably the guy who should be in Cooperstown and not, Carlos Delgado. I mean, if you just know the name, how great of a player he was. If you take top five all-time categories with the Blue Jays, other than his 1,423 games, he's in 25 top five categories all-time in Blue Jay history. And I won't name them all because there's 21 of them, but that's basically every category for Carlos Delgado. He's a two-time All-Star. He finished second in MVP in 2003, maybe robbed by a guy named A-Rod who won the MVP that year. In 2017, he's ranked the fourth best Blue Jay player in the history of Blue Jay baseball by Sportsnet. He's on the Jays level of excellence. He won the Hank Aaron Award. He was five-time Player of the Year. He's Sporting News Player of the Year. And again, he played 12 years with the Blue Jays, and he's top five in 21 different offensive categories. So Carlos Delgado.
Shannon, he's also number one in strikeouts for the Blue Jays all time. But what are your thoughts on Carlos?
I mean, I played with Carlos, so I got nothing but good things to say about him. Guy had a lot of powered all fields, great bat. A guy that came in as a catcher, learned how to play first base, and really just had a heck of a career. Carlos was a smart hitter too. Could read things off pitchers like nobody else on the team did. He would come in and kind of give you the advantage. The guy when the guy was tipping his pitches, but he, the power was just tremendous, man. I mean, I remember watching him take BP, one hand balls, upper deck. I mean, the guy just used his legs, just a great hitter. So I mean, for me, he's one of the best. Plus I played with him. Some of the guys I haven't played with on this list, but Carlos I played with, and he's one of the tops, man. Great player.
Our next player is our guest, Shannon Stewart. So from Toronto, 95 to 03, hitting over 305 times in that period. Two times receiving MVP votes, finishing 25th in 01 and 4th in 03, respectively. Now, 03 was split between Toronto and Minnesota. But my job tonight on a top five show is only to prove that he belongs in the top five, not necessarily that he's the GOAT. So Shannon is fourth all time with the Blue Jays in batting average, OBP ninth, 10th in at bats, total bases seventh, runs seventh, hits seventh, sixth doubles, fifth in stolen bases, seventh in triples, seventh in singles, eighth in runs created, and times on base. And believe it or not, he might not even know this one, but he is fourth in hit by pitches. So he wasn't afraid to take one for the team. So I respect that. So,
right.
Yeah, and if you're listening at home and you're saying, okay, top five, well, a lot of things I said were, seventh place or eighth place or sixth place. Yes, but when you take all these averages for everything that he is ranked in, that is better than almost every player we're talking about tonight because he is on all of those lists, whereas other players only show up maybe in power lists and slugging. So he's got a little bit of everything here. So it's hard to ask people about themselves, Shannon, but just, what did you think of your time period there in Toronto? Because I know Scott, being from the Canadian Hall of Fame there, he'll want to know for sure.
Well, the funny thing is that you reading all those numbers and me being on those lists, I didn't even know that. I thought I was a decent player. I felt really, my job was just to get on base for those guys like Carlos and Sean Green. when Canseco was there to score runs. Then I kind of developed into a better hitter. Came in as just I guess, a singles hitter, just get on base, still second base, and I developed into like gaps to home runs to actually a guy that hit for average. I think that I had a solid career. I people talk about me, when I go to Toronto, and I think like, wow, I guess I did better than I thought I did, especially now that you said I'm on those lists. Kind of like I'm surprised, but I'm not gonna say I shouldn't be on top five. I'll just say I'm thankful to be on. I'm thankful to be mentioned among the guys. It's an honor. It just I just feel like maybe I did better than I thought I did. So I'll just leave it like that.
And if we were talking fielding as well today, you'd be on a lot more of those lists, but we're not. So let's move on to Brian's first player.
All right, so I'm going to take you back quite a ways. We're going to go back to Lloyd Moseby, nicknamed the Shaker for his abilities on the basketball court, oddly enough. But on the baseball diamond, the Jays thought very highly of Moseby when they selected him with the second pick in the entire 1978 draft. He would break into the majors in 1980 and spent the next 10 seasons with the club. Moseby was the center fielder of that great Killer Bees outfield, along with George Bell and Jesse Barfield. He was one of the one with the most speed on the base paths as well. He stole 255 bases as a Jay, more than any other Jay ever. That's 25 per season, with a high of 39 in 1984. Also in 84, he was able to stretch out for a league-leading 15 triples. His 60 triples in all for the Jays is second most in club history. He's also ranked fourth in hits and fourth in runs scored. Moseby also had some power. He ranks eighth in club history with 149 homers, seventh with 651 RBIs, and fourth with 242 doubles. The Saber Matrix master, Bill James, he came up with a statistic that was called power speed number. And of all the Jays in history, Moseby has the highest total ever, and he's 86th overall in MLB history. In 1986, Moseby was named to the All-Star team. In 1983, he won the Silver Slugger. With Lloyd Moseby, you knew you had an everyday, good fielding center fielder with great speed, some pop in his bat, just one of the best Blue Jays ever.
So, Shannon, if Lloyd Moseby is on first base and you're up to bat, what's going through your head? How are you going to play that?
Well, if he's on first base, I'm up to bat. I say, if I hit something in the gap, I know I got me RBI. Down the line, I know I got me RBI with that speed. So I'm very aware, And when he's on first base, I'll probably take a couple pitches just so he can steal the bag. When you got guys that have speed like that, you kind of just want to allow them to be able to steal the base. Sometimes you take first one or two pitches, but if they don't steal base, two pitches, you might have 1 or 2 strikes on you. You got to hit 2 strikes, but with those guys, it's always good because any type of hit in the gap or down the line, you're going to get an RBI. But with that speed kills. So you're excited when they get on base.
Rollo, who's your first player?
I have Vernon Wells. Vernon Wells.
Vernon Wells.
He was the 5th overall pick out of Bowie High in Arlington, Texas in 1997. He would get called up to join the big league squad for 57 games from 99 to 01. But he would assume the everyday role of center fielder with the Jays in 02. And he would show that he belonged in the big leagues his first full year, batting .275 and hitting 23 homers and 100 RBI. For the next 8 seasons with the Jays, he would average 25 homers and 87 RBI while batting .280. But not only was he exceptional at the plate, he was one of the best defensive center fielders in the league. Check out the home run that he stole from Alex Rodriguez in 04 when he basically jumped over the wall. He won 3 consecutive Golden Glove awards from 04 to 06. He also led the league in hits and doubles the year before he won the 3 straight Gold Gloves. So that shows you his versatility and what he did on the diamond. He is fifth all-time in Jays history in WAR, second all-time in Jays history in hits, total bases, doubles, and he's fourth in home runs.
And he is first all-time in outs made and grounded into double plays. So he does have that negative. Shannon, I look at his batting average, 245, 317, 218, 300. How does that happen for a hitter from season to season?
I mean, sometimes you get into a rut, and usually you have two slumps a year, and sometimes it can prolong, and take you a while to get out of it, and then when you actually start hitting well, your average is still low, or vice versa. You can start off high, and when you do have a slump, it's not as long, and then your average kind of stays up there. It works both ways. But I mean, it could have been hurt, could have had some things, some elements up there, trying to swing the bat with maybe he got a jam finger or whatever. There's some things that could have happened in those seasons. He didn't have a good average, but I played with Vernon, and majority of the time he was a smasher. He was a guy to hit for power, hit for average, and sometimes it happens. But I mean, I'm pretty sure the years that he didn't hit well, there was something was wrong. Maybe he had like a element he was dealing with. But he was a great player, Gold Glover. I mean, All-Star. He had a heck of a career. So anybody would love to have his career.
And his father is quite the baseball artist. He's got some really beautiful paintings of players. So everyone should check that out. Scott, who's your last player?
Sure, I got the going back to the Mosby era. I got the slick fielding shortstop Tony Fernandez. I mean, I know we're not just talking defense, but you can just picture him slinging that ball over to first base with that underhand toss. But Tony Fernandez played the most games in Blue Jay history with 1,450 games over 12 years. He ranks in the top 5 in 13 different categories. He's first in games, hits, and singles. He's second in WAR, at bats, and times on base. He's third in WAR, plate appearances and doubles, fourth in stolen bases, and fifth in runs and total bases. So he's got the whole offensive game covered. Even though you see Tony more as a defensive guy, he's definitely could hit the ball as well. I mean, it helps that he played 1,450 games, but to get in all those categories, but he was the best over those dozen years. He's a 5-time All-Star. He got MVP votes 4 times. He's ranked the 6th best player in Blue Jay history by Sportsnet. He's, of course, on the Blue Jays level of excellence, and he was their Rookie of the Year in 1984. So Tony Fernandez is right up there with all these people.
So Shannon, Tony is a tricky player here tonight because he is known for his defense. Offensively, he played all those games, so he's going to lead in categories on the Blue Jays. But what are your thoughts on Tony Fernandez?
Yeah, I played with Tony. I think early 2000s, late 1999. I think. But he, great player, man. Could run. Fielding was ridiculous, as you already mentioned. When I played with him, he was a great hitter. I think he hit like 300 when I played with him. Switch hitter, was fast, and came every day to play. A good friend of mine, a great teammate, guy that give it his all every time out there. And come from Dominican, he probably had some things he had to overcome, and he did. He overcame everything, and you tell when he played, he put us all into it. Certain guys, they go out there, they're playing. I mean, there's certain guys that play with a passion, and Tony played with a passion. And then every time I played with him, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed being his teammate, and just an all-in-all great player. All these guys are on this list are great players, in their own way.
Well, my last guy is George Bell, Blue Jays from 81 to 90. Now, with the Jays only, because that's all we're talking about here tonight, he's a 2-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger Award winner, and, of course, 1987, he is the AL MVP. Or, I'm sorry, 88, the AL MVP. In 87, he led the AL in RBIs. So the guy did something consistent every year. He is the first player in Major League Baseball history to hit 3 home runs on opening day. So he was the first to do that we can put that in his hat. He's 9th all-time in Toronto in batting average and slugging percentage, 5th in hits, 6th in homers, 4th in RBIs. And yeah, he's top 10 and everything else pretty much. So he was blessed to have two postseasons in Toronto. Not everyone here tonight has played in the postseason, so he did get that opportunity. And in those 12 games, he hit 271 with a homer and three RBIs. So um, the thing about George is he didn't leave on the best of terms. His manager there, what was it, May Williams? He wanted him to be a DH, and George was not really liking that idea. He was pretty vocal about that. However, when Williams was replaced, he did play DH a little bit, but it ended up working his way out of town when he was a free agent. But he gets some respect from me for the Blue Jays. Shannon, he's a power hitter. He could also hit for average when need be. What's the difference in a swing when you're just trying to get a hit as opposed to cracking it over the fence, which is all players try to do today?
I mean, I guess basically when you're trying to get a hit, you're just trying to make contact. Certain times up there you get two quick strikes on you. You try to cut down your swing, and you just want to meet the ball. You just want to put the ball on play, and that's usually when you get your little singles. The blooper over the base. As long as you make contact, a chopper in the hole, or something you got to beat out. That's how you get the singles. But a guy like George was always swinging. A hard, aggressive swinger. He wasn't getting cheated. Usually the power hitters are the guys that are either going to strike out or they're going to hit the ball long ways. They're not trying to get singles. Their job is to drive in runs and frankly hit home runs. They get paid for RBIs. Guys like me get paid for scoring runs. But that's the difference between a guy that's trying to hit for average. Maybe just trying to get singles or not as an aggressive swinger. Usually gets the singles and a little bleak with when the guy that's a power hitter is the guy that swinging hard and probably gonna strike out more, but they're trying to like really really swing. You can tell difference between a leadoff hitter and a fourth hitter.
Well, let's go to another pure power hitter and one of my favorite players. Go ahead, Brian.
All right, Jose Bautista, one of those late bloomer stories. He spent some time with the Orioles, Rays, Royals, and Pirates prior to his time in Toronto. He had some moderate success, but not long after the Blue Jays acquired him in 2008, a star was born. In 2010, he became just the 26th player in MLB history to top 50 home runs in a season as he belted a league-leading 54. He made the All-Star team and was fourth in the MVP voting, and he won the Silver Slugger Award. In 2011, he again led the league in home runs with 43. He also led in walks, slugging percentage, and on-base percentage. He was again an All-Star, a Silver Slugger winner, and this time he finished third in the MVP voting. From 2012 to 2015, he continued to play at an all-star level, making the team in all four seasons and averaging 32 homers per year. On October 14th, 2015, versus the Texas Rangers, late in Game 5 of the ALDS, Bautista hit what ultimately became the game-winning home run, a three-run home run blast off Sam Dyson. His bat flip, which soared high into the air afterwards, really angered the Rangers, but was beloved by Jays fans. It was a symbol of his supreme confidence in his ability to put pitches out of the park that entered his power zone. In 2016 and 2017, at the ages of 35 and 36, he began to slow down a little, and injuries also contributed, but he still managed to top 20 homers in both seasons. On the Blue Jays all-time list, Bautista's ranked first in WAR, seventh in on-base percentage, fifth in slugging, second in runs, sixth in hits, seventh in doubles, second in homers, third in RBIs. Not too bad for a guy who didn't get into Toronto until he was 28 years old. Now, the skeptics attributed his meteoric rise on some sort of performing-enhancing drug. But despite being tested multiple times, Bautista never came up positive. So we can surmise that he earned all of these accolades fair and square.
So someone who didn't like that bat flip was manager of the Texas Rangers, Jeff Bannister. He's been on this show. He gave his opinion on it. Shannon, what did you think of the bat flip? Did you see it when it happened in the playoff game?
I saw it. Well, actually, I didn't see it live. I saw the highlights, but I mean, it's a big moment. It's a big hit. I mean, I understand how the manager feels. but I also understand how Jose feels. You never know what you're gonna do in a situation like that when you get a big hit. You don't want to show up to the team, but I mean, sometimes you just your actions just take over. And I'm sure Bautista didn't mean to do it and wasn't trying to show him up. He just was just excited, and listen, when you get one good, everybody wants to showboat. They want to, but the game tells you to hit the home run and run the bases. But sometimes, in a big situation, you get excited. He just got excited, and it's just the big moment of the game. Things happen, and you just got to just kind of turn the page. And I believe didn't Texas win the series?
No, Toronto won.
Toronto won the series.
Toronto won it, yeah. Oh no, wait, Scott, you would know. You're from.
I thought they won the series, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe they didn't. But
Huh.
but it doesn't matter. The whole thing is that he got excited, and it's not a big deal, man. Things happen.
And Jeff and Jose were friends before that happened from their time in the Pirates organization, and they are friends again. They definitely made their amends. But let's move on to our final player tonight before we get into our Q&A. Go ahead, Rollo.
I got Edward Encarnacion. He's from Dominican Republic and was drafted in the 9th round of the 2000 MLB draft. He was able to be drafted because his father was a coach in Puerto Rico. Since he was a resident, he didn't have to negotiate with any clubs. He was able to be signed go right to the major leagues. He would make his MLB debut in 2005 with the Reds and was eventually traded to the Blue Jays in 2009. He was traded with pitchers Josh Reddick and Zach Stewart for Scott Rowland. It was reported at the time that the Jays didn't want Encarnacion, but the Reds wouldn't make the trade unless Encarnacion was included. And the Jays are glad they did make that deal because in 2010 and 2011, he would be average, hitting 38 homers and 100 RBI in those 2 seasons. But in 2012, he would establish himself as one of the most feared hitters in baseball, hitting 42 homers and 110 RBIs, hitting 280. And he also stole 13 bases for good measure. Over the next 4 seasons with the club, he would average 38 homers and 110 RBIs. In the 2017 season, he wasn't able to negotiate a contract, so he wound up moving to the Indians, where he still was hitting homers. He had 38 that season. Despite his short term with the Toronto Blue Jays in 8 seasons, he is 3rd all-time in homer and 6th in RBIs.
So another pure power guy, Shannon. Your thoughts on Juan?
Yeah, I mean, great power hitter. Had some great years with the Jays. That was a good mixture of players when he played. Exciting. You can't, you don't get cheated when you see the long balls. It's an exciting thing, especially, for the Jays. Love those years. Great ball player. I didn't get to see him play that much, but as I remember him, he did a great job, and he fit well with that team. So, to me, like I say, all these guys on this list are great players, and in their own way, they're special.
Well, let's move into our vote. Keep it short and simple, guys. Can't pick your own. I'm going to take Vernon Wells. Scott?
Jose Bautista.
Okay. Brian?
I think you got to get Delgado on this list.
Well, a lot of power coming out. Rollo? You're on mute.
Hernandez.
Wow. Okay. So Shannon, we come to you. You get last pick here. We got we got yourself. We got George Bell, Lloyd Mosby, Juan Encarnacion.
I mean, I know all these guys. If I say something, they're gonna be mad at me. So they all were good to me. They're all in the same category. So I can't get in trouble.
Fair enough. We'll throw Mosby on there just because he's old school and runs everything there. So there you go. All right, so let's get into our Q&A here. Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, Shannon obviously played in Toronto for a while, but go down a couple years earlier and go down the road about an hour to St. Catharines. And in 1993, as a 19-year-old, you spent a year in Southern Ontario in the little town of St. Catharines. And you guys won 49 games that year out of the 78 you played. So you guys had an amazing team, an amazing season. What do you remember about your year in St. Catharines?
Well, I mean, I remember that that was my first time out of Florida because my first year I played in the Gulf Coast League down there in Florida, and I got a chance to go to St. Catharines. Short A season, very competitive. First time being in Canada. It was great. We were able to go see the Blue Jays play a couple times. Great teammates, and believe it or not, they did a documentary on me called "Chasing the Dream," and there were 3 players that they followed that year. It was me, a guy named Harry Muir, and a guy named Eddie Vasquez. And if you get a chance, check it out. It's on YouTube. But they followed us that whole year, and that was the year I played at St. Catharines. So that made it even more special. But yeah, I had a great time with St. Catharines.
Okay.
So you were recruited by Bobby Bowden. Any retrospect on what football would have looked like as a career for you?
I mean, they say I could have been a first rounder. That's all I can say. But
wow,
it was nice to have Bobby Bowden come to the house, and meet him, my parents. It was a great experience. So I really enjoyed my my football career. I think I chose the right way to go. The NFL stands for not for long. So I was glad I was able to play baseball and have a decent career.
Ryan Rollo.
Shannon, from 97 to 2002, you stole 159 bases, which comes out to about 27 per season. So you're a great person to ask this. From the time that you reach first base until the time that you're heading to second on a stolen base attempt, could you sort of describe what are you looking for with each pitch before you take off?
Believe it or not, when you're a base stealer, you're not worried about the pitch. You're more so worried about the pitcher's move. You're looking for the high leg kick. He might lean before he throws the ball, rock back. There's some things that you can key off of as a base stealer, but you're just trying to read something that gives you an advantage because to get your quickest steps. The first 2 steps are the most important steps, and so that reading a pitcher, whatever he's doing, that can give you that jump. Usually a high leg kick or the guy leans back. Sometimes guys will move their glove before they go home. Whatever you can pick up, that's when you just go ahead and take off.
You got drafted to Toronto. I mean, you went to Toronto. What was that culture shock like? And did it take an adjustment for you being up there?
Yeah, I didn't think I was gonna get drafted by Toronto. I thought it was gonna be like Cincinnati, New York, one of those teams. And I'll never forget my last interview with the Blue Jays. I did some type of a quiz, like a 50 question quiz, whatever it was. And I remember I was taking the quiz. It's like, okay, well, maybe, I was like, whatever. They're not going to draft me, whatever it is. And then I get drafted by the Blue Jays. And I was like, man, Canada, what is that? Canada. So anyway, so I ended up getting called up in 95 and they put me in a hotel up there. And it's kind of, I guess they had kind of French. It was kind of French too. I'm like, wait a second, what is this? So they had TSN instead of ESPN. I'm like, man, this is gonna get some used. I gotta get used to this stuff. But money was different. People would say "a" lot. They're saying "hey." I'm like, hey. But man, I tell you what, once I got adjusted, man, it was great, man. The people were great. The city was nice, clean city. It was almost like they say it's a clean New York. It's like a New York, but it's cleaner. Whatever that means. But it was very nice, man. I really enjoyed the people. I enjoyed my time. And then I always tell people, if you ever get a chance to go to Toronto, Canada, just go because you will be impressed. Because I was shocked how much I was impressed, how much I loved it up there.
Scott, finish us out tonight.
Well, that's a great thing to say about Canada, eh? Hey, Shannon, as you were growing up, obviously I know you played football and baseball, but on the baseball side, who did you look up to with baseball players you're growing up? Who did you try to be like when you were growing up and, first when you started playing? Like, was there that person or people that you sort of said, like, this is what I want to follow or I want to play my game after?
Well, I wore number 24, so I was a leadoff guy. So Ricky Henderson was the guy that I really looked up to. And I wanted to emulate his game. I wanted to be a guy that could steal bases and hit for average, hit some home runs. And then the second guy was King Griffey Jr. He was like just my guy. It was like for me, it's like equivalent to like a LeBron James or Michael Jordan of baseball. The guy hit the home runs and make the spectacular plays in the outfield, good arm. I mean, he was an exciting player. But Ricky was a guy that I was more like. So I couldn't be Griffey. So let me go ahead and try to be like Ricky. So those are the two guys that I really, really enjoy watching. And those two guys that, I try to be like, you know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Shannon. We appreciate your time coming on.
Hey, no problem, man. Glad to, do it. Thank you for having me. And sorry it took so long.
That's all right. I remind everybody, hit that like, subscribe, notification button. We'll see everyone next time. Everyone have a great night.